Do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all of the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? It is Tuesday, the first day of August, 2023, and it's time to open up our devotional book, Truth for Life by Pastor Alistair Begg, and hear what the Spirit of God might say to us on this Tuesday, the first day of August, 2023. And it is entitled, Serve Where He Has Placed You. That's Serve Where He Has Placed You. And the verses today, Esther chapter 4, verses 13 and 14, which reads, Do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all of the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? That's Esther chapter 4, verses 13 and 14. Alistair Begg writes, When Esther hesitated to speak to King Ahasuerus about Haman's plot against the Jews, Mordecai's response was, to quote one commentator, grounded in the reality of necessity of God's intervention. He knew that God would keep his covenant promise and could raise up someone else if Esther chose to keep silent. Yet, Mordecai also asked Esther to consider whether God had placed her in the right place at the right time to act on behalf of her people. She had won the beauty pageant and became queen, but she hadn't been responsible for putting her nose on her face or determining the color of her eyes or the length of her legs. God had done all that. Mordecai didn't claim certain inside knowledge of the will of God, but he did realize that God had put Esther in a unique position and that he may well have done so for a unique purpose. Although it may not always feel like it, God has always put each of us in unique positions for a unique purpose. He has us exactly where he wants us, positioned perfectly for good works which God prepared beforehand. Ephesians 2, verse 10. So instead of wishing for a new job, location, or abilities so we can get on with our big, overarching plan, we need to recognize that God's plan may well involve simply doing what we're already doing to His glory. There is no ideal place in which to serve God except the place where He has set you down, wherever it is. Such a perspective transforms sweeping a floor into divine activity. You may not be a queen like Esther, but your role matters. That's a tremendous liberation from the fear that life is happening everywhere else, and a tremendous motivation to get on with obeying God here and now. Wherever God has placed you, respond today in obedience to His foreordained purposes. As you go to your office, to your school, or throughout your town, neighborhood, or city, let the words of this hymn become your prayer. Forth in thy name, O Lord, I go, my daily labor to pursue. Thee, only thee, resolve to know, in all I think or speak or do. The task thy wisdom hath assigned, O let me cheerfully fulfill. In all my works thy presence find, and prove thy good and perfect will. Amen. And that concludes our devotional thought for today. Those reading through the Bible in a year, your assignment is the book of Psalms, chapter 57, 58, and 59, as well as the book of Acts, chapter 21, verses 18 through 40. Clive Welsh here. May the Lord bless you tremendously today.